welcome back to the broadcast. With an all-star cast like Woody Allen, Sofia Vergara, and Sharon Stone, the new film, Fading Gigolo, promises to be very entertaining. Our own Don Neufeld recently sat down with actor and director John Turturro to talk about the film. Take a look.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, John. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Welcome to Dallas.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Well, I loved Fading Gigolo. Okay, you've got to tell me about what inspired you to write this movie.
Women. Women inspired me. What do you think inspired me?
And you must tell me more.
Why? Well, I wanted to do something. I thought Woody and I would be a good team in something.
Woody Allen, of course.
Woody Allen and myself.
Who plays your pimp.
He's my friend. My friend. Bookstore, ex-bookstore owner, who becomes, yes, a pimp, okay. And I become his hoe.
Sure.
But, you know, sometimes movies with crazy ideas, just like my crazy idea, it develops. And as you develop, you realize, wow, you know, there's a lot there, and then you find a whole other bottom to the piece. So we tried to develop it, I tried to develop it with nuance, and Woody encouraged me through this 2-year period where I got to know him and wrote various drafts, and we worked in the theater together. And really, then the film started, I realized, wow, this is really a film about people's, you know, desire or hunger or unceasing need, you know, for human intimacy, connection. And you know, this profession, not exploring the sordid side of it, you know, sometimes helps people release tensions or grief or loneliness or whatever. And also, sometimes people think, well, I want to do this because it's no strings attached. And then they realize they become attached. And I just thought it's interesting to explore sexuality through comedy, but also through delicacy. And I think sometimes when we see representations of it, it's always so flattened out to me. It's not like diverse, and it doesn't have like layers. And that's what I was trying to do, so the film would develop, and actually, as you're laughing, you go, oh wow, there's something serious occurs. And I think that happens in life.
I think you're absolutely right. And of course, one of your assignments, should we say, is to have a little girl on boy time with two very beautiful women, Sharon Stone and Sofia Vergara, and you immediately think the sexual nature of it, but there were some issues going on there, right? The intimacies that happened. Tell me about that.
Well, I think when you do, the scenes that lead to sex scenes are always the more erotic scenes. People think, oh, well, now I'm going to blow it out of the park in a sex scene. It's like, it's not, because a scene is a representation of life, and it has to have like an obstacle or a problem. Sometimes the sexiest scenes, it has nothing to do with people taking their shirt off, or taking their bra off. It's like getting there or getting to know each other. And so that kind of interests me. And I do think there's been some successful sex scenes over the years, but very, very few. Very few. Even though people try to do it, and when we sit there in the audience and we're going, wow, they look good. It doesn't really, but it's not affecting you.
Sure. And so the key is that intimacy and the build-up beforehand, you would say, until you get to that point.
That's exactly right. And then also when you get to it, to add something to it, add some kind of problem or obstacle.
And of course, your character was going through a lot of things, and you do become very intimate with one of the women who is patronizing you. What can you tell me about that relationship?
Well, the relationship between my character and Vanessa Paradis' character is an unlikely one. I wanted to choose a religion because I think in lots of religions, you know, there are rules and parameters that were created by men for women. And this is a woman who was married. She's a widow. She has 6 kids, but she's never been courted. So all of a sudden, she finds herself, someone being interested in her, in what she's interested in, who she is. He actually listens to her and asks her questions and actually can see who she is as a person and not just as a mother, you know.
And there was a touch of the back, on the back, that just brought up a whole bunch of things for her, right?
Well, that's it. And so when you have these obstacles that you shouldn't be allowed to do that, it's so much more potent when you explore that. Because then we what we're seeing is a crystallization or a metaphor of what it is to connect with each other and what that actually means. And if people think back to the first time they ever, had that or held somebody's hand or something like that, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass out, And people think it's always, they always kind of bring it down to the basic level, which is part of life. But when you tell a story, you want to make people feel something. You don't want them to just be looking at it and feel uncomfortable. And that's what I tried to do. I tried to make a movie that would resonate with people. Say, oh, I get this.
But it was also very funny. I mean,
but that's part of it.
There's a part where, they say it gets hard out there for a pimp, and Woody Allen runs into a little bit of trouble, right? His character.
That's right. No, comedy is part of life. It's, life isn't one thing or another, sometimes it's comic tragic, it's comic dramatic, but, I think in a movie where it's only one thing, you're not really trying to kind of capture, it flattens it out sometimes, even though it's a drama. Because sometimes people, laugh in the middle of terrible circumstances, crack jokes, do funny things, sing songs, So I like things that are human comedies or that have both, because that's what life is, and that's what, it's very hard to do that, but that's what I was kind of aspiring to, kind of keep movie yin yang, in the film.
Well, I think you did that. And I think now everyone's going to be looking at John as the Gigolo. So there might need to be a sequel or something.
Well, if there's a sequel, there could be a sequel.
There you go.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Okay.
We'll take a quick picture if you don't.
He's so interesting. Fading Gigolo is rated R. Check your local theater listings for showtimes and theaters. We are all headed back over to the Broadcast Music Cafe for another live performance from the O's. Don't go anywhere.
Of the day you can't forget. A can of paint, it's 2 years dead. You've lost your own connection, now it's going to your head. But you got bills to pay, impeachment to write. You can't afford the things that you know are out of sight. You got to